Hey guys, Adam Rose, Vice President, Senior Loan Officer of Western Ohio Mortgage here in Sydney, Ohio. And this is another episode of the Mortgage Guy podcast. And this is the one where you get to know Kamille Lamber of Home Experts Realty and a little bit about what she does, right? So, Kamille, thank you for coming on, obviously, first thing.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
We're excited, right? Because we have a little relationship of not only doing business together, but other connections in real estate and all the other side things that you do. But the first thing I wanted to ask, because we're kind of doing new icebreakers here, and this might be part of our YouTube shorts, is do you have an irrational, and we say irrational because it's kind of odd, right? Fear. Irrational fear. What you got?
So you asked the right question to the right person because I'm scared of everything. Actually, I was in a showing yesterday, and a cat ran in the house, and I screamed. But no,
just a cat. Okay.
Yes, just a cat because I don't know. But I have a lot of phobias, I guess. The number one is cotton. I hate cotton. I think it's so disgusting. I've needed my wisdom teeth out for 3 years now, and the reason I haven't gotten them out is because
cotton balls.
Oh my gosh, it's enough to send me over the edge.
I love it.
And it sounds like so when I hear irrational fear, it's so funny because that is the perfect description of that.
Yeah.
Irrational.
Irrational. That's an irrational fear.
Yeah.
So do you ever wear cotton shirts? Like cotton made shirts?
In a shirt, but like a cotton ball, like just, absolutely not. Like
it's like that dry feeling. Like I saw my kids the other day, like he was like gnawing like on a towel. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like that dry feeling around. Okay. So that makes sense. That's not totally irrational, really. It's not a fear for me, but it's just weird. Right?
Yeah.
It's like a weird feeling. Very good. So, Kamille, first off, let's talk a little bit about yourself. You know, where are you from? You know, family, stuff like that.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Anna, Ohio. Went to Anna High School.
It's really far away. If you guys aren't from around here.
I know. And then married my high school sweetheart. And we have 2 daughters. We live here now in Sydney. We've flipped a couple homes that we've lived in, and then ended up getting the deal of a lifetime on a neighborhood when I was in high school that I always said like, oh, it'd be so cool to live back here.
And it happened.
And it happened. So
Meant to be. That's awesome.
Living the dream. The number one, my number one priority in life is being a mom. I absolutely love everything to do with being a mom.
Good.
So yeah, working Home Experts Realty. I've been licensed Realtor since 2018.
Yeah. So you're a licensed realtor, and how did you get into the line of work? Like, what kind of shoved you in there?
So
right? Is it freedom of time? No one has freedom of time in the industry. Just for the record, that is a complete myth. If you think, hey, I'm going to become a real estate agent or a loan officer or an appraiser, it's like, I'm going to have so much time on my hands, I'm not going to know what to do with it. Complete lie.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm actually a second-gen real estate agent. My dad has been in the industry since I went to high school. He's always kind of done business in real estate. He built houses and then sold them. One memory that I have of being in my dad being in real estate prior to being an agent was Matt Watercutter sitting at our kitchen table at like 9:00 at night with his little briefcase filling out paperwork. And we've come such a long way because now I'm like,
it's a little different.
Yeah.
So what is that paperwork?
Yeah.
Pull your phone up.
Oh, yeah.
Put up the
like
app.
At 9:30 at night, like I'm in my bed typing on dot loop. So anyway, my dad has always encouraged me to do it. And I always said, no, I'm not going to become an agent. They're mean. And after I had my...
Some are.
Yeah, some are. And sometimes I feel like I'm the mean one. But I'm just kidding. After I had my second daughter, I was selling clothing I had bought at Goodwill on eBay. And I was at my parents' house and had told my dad, like, hey, I bought this sweater for $3 and I just sold it for $160.
Whoa.
And I think during my maternity leave, I made like $6,000 doing this. And my dad's like, Kamille, when are you going to become an agent? And I'm like, I don't know. And he said those magic words, I'll pay for the course. And I was like,
that's all it took.
Yeah.
That's all it took. Nothing else.
Yeah. So I started out, I'm like, I'll sell three houses a year. And then I think in the first 2 months, I sold 3 houses.
Right.
So,
Hit your goal fast.
Yeah. And it's been a great time since then.
Yeah. So, I mean, about your job, in real estate, what do you love about it? Is there something in particular that sticks out?
Yeah. I think what I love about it the most is like sometimes you're meeting clients for the first time. It's the first encounter you ever meet. And you go to 0 to 100. right in that first 5 minutes. Like, you learn the most intimate details of people's lives.
Some people are oversharers. Some people you got to like pry it out, right?
I want to hear it though. I want to hear it. So anyway, you learn intimate details, and like, not too often are you going to meet somebody and the first time you meet them, you're like, okay, what do you make? 50, 60, 70,000 a year?
Yeah,
like,
drop it. What do you got?
Yeah. Or what do you have in your savings account? And so I think just combining that with like finding all their likes and dislikes and really learning just about them and what they want in a home is what I love to do. And then seeing them through till the end, because a lot of your clients become your friends. And so I have friends now that I met through selling them a house, and they became lifelong friends.
Yeah, and you know, it's it's endearing because, you know, I feel like a lot of the agents that we work with in Sydney, we all know each other for the most part, right? And Shelby County as a whole, it's not transactional to them. Does that make sense?
Right.
It's never transactional. I feel like everybody's getting to know each other. Everybody ends up being friends afterwards. It's very rare for me to go to like a Walmart or a Lowe's or a Menards and I see half a dozen clients every time I go, and you start up a conversation, and it's great. It feels more like community, right? Not transactional. Like, oh, here's that guy. I don't want to see that guy. Right? It's none of that, and that's really enjoyable about what we do in our industry. So it's good that you do that.
Right, and I think a lot of the times, especially when you get into bigger cities, you get teams, and so the person you hire is never the person you deal with. And so I think bringing it to Shelby County, like, we all deal with each other. Most of the time our kids go to school together, so we're dealing with each other in transactions, but then also we're dealing with each other. Like, I know there is one mom in particular, I'll message her, like, we're classroom moms together, like, hey, can you come do this classroom party? And it's so fun because you get to meet other agents outside of transactions.
Yeah, you really build some really good relationships. So on that topic of getting to know people, so you're heavily involved with some charity, right?
Right.
In helping out Sydney and Shelby County. Now you're involved with Charity League. Could you in CASA? So separate? Is that separate? Because
they're separate.
I donate a lot. I don't understand it all. Okay, so let's start with Charity League. So what's your involvement in that? What is Charity League?
So Charity League is a group of 40 women. We serve 8-year terms, and we purchase clothing and Christmas gifts for kids in Shelby County. What's really unique about this program is we don't take financials into account. Okay. So for 5 years prior to me working in real estate, I did work for a government agency called WIC. And it was not uncommon for us to see people that would not meet these guidelines by $5.
Right.
And that's devastating, you know? So I think what's good about Charity League is sometimes this is the only pair of shoes, this is the only clothes, this is the only coat that these kids get every calendar year. And so what's special about us is we raise money and we only serve Shelby County. So you're not competing against a bunch of people. It's just the children of Shelby County. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I love it. And the Christmas gifts, what's great about us is when we buy Christmas gifts, it's just toys. So if you want clothes, fill out a clothing distribution, and then we'll also buy you toys. So I think that's fun too, because usually the children are getting the best of both worlds. Yeah,
that's awesome. I know I get hit up a lot, so because Beth was always in there, Beth Rowe, right? So she's a relative of ours.
It's ironic because she's also a real estate agent.
She's also a real estate agent.
Yeah, so we were all on a Snooty Fox bus trip.
That's right.
You were on the bus, and my dad, like I said, he's a second-gen. I'm a second-gen real estate agent, but he's also an auctioneer, and he does the auction. And he was like, Kamille, you have to join Charity League. And so on that Snooty Fox bus trip, I had reached out to Beth, and then she was actually my sponsor.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, it was awesome.
I'm always the only guy on that trip.
Yeah, I love that trip. I missed it this year because I had a closing.
Yeah.
So, but no, and Charity League is just great too because, again, it's 40 women. We serve it's an 8-year commitment. So it's crazy to think when I joined, like I was just getting into real estate, and now, well, I'm like 5 or 6 years in. I can't remember. Right. But yeah, and so, but then you're a lifelong alumni or associate member. So an
offshoot of that is CASA. I'm not saying it's connected, right? It's a separate organization.
Yeah, it's a separate.
Tell us what that is.
A separate organization. Now, CASA is in most counties. So if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not from Shelby County, but I'm from Montgomery County, there is still a CASA in your county. Okay. So CASA is a court-appointed special advocate. Mm-hmm. So it's CASA GAL and guardian ad litem. What we do is we're appointed by the judge to advocate for children that are in abuse and neglect situations. So if a child has been pulled from their family due to, like abuse or neglect, right. Mm-hmm. we go in and we're the voice for the children. So oftentimes you'll see in a courtroom somebody representing mom, somebody representing dad, somebody representing the agency. Well, where does the child fall into that? Okay. So that's what we do. So I have advocated now for 7 children, and I do home visits every month, and then at the court date, I sit in for the children and basically tell judge or magistrate where I think the children fall in all of this.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's not, so CASA is it government backed, almost like a JFS branch, or is it completely separate from everything?
It's government backed, okay. Definitely. I'm not quite sure how to answer that question.
That's okay. I was just curious because I'm like, man, this is like a whole organization that does all this and right. volunteers that go into the organization. I assume there's some sort of I don't know. It's obviously not licensing like you're a caseworker. Right. You're not a caseworker. Right. You actually take basically I took a course mm-hmm. and then I had to get background checked and right. then basically like I got sworn in to do this. That's very neat. Yes, and it was pretty extensive and it's definitely interesting. The training you see some of like the craziest stuff. Here's some of the craziest stuff, but and then, you basically write reports and make sure, and this is completely volunteer. You do not get paid $1. Oh, that's very good. Very good, Kamille. And, we all get to a point where we would like to help, and we're always like, I'm just too busy. I'm just too busy. But you find a point in your life that you're like, you know what? This is something I'm always going to set aside. And do you see yourself continually doing this indefinitely? Obviously, when as your kids keep getting older, it might get a little bit more challenging for you. But what are your thoughts on that? So I think that you can probably agree with this statement that everything I do, real estate, anything I do it because I want to create a life for my children right. that is amazing. None of this matters without my kids. And so the thought, I guess, going into it that there is a child out there that does not have an adult that feels the same way I do about them is literally devastating. And so I want to be that adult to other kids. I want them to know that, I can't repair the trauma that their family has created, and I can never understand what they've gone through, but I want them to know that they have an adult that they can look back on and say, she had my back no matter what. Right. So I think as far as I don't have time, it's my civic duty, or it's been put on my heart to do this. So no matter what, I do think I'll stay involved. I'm in a pretty tough case right now, and I think after this, I'll probably will take a little bit of a break. But I don't necessarily, I say that, and then Bridget Davis, who's the director, if she messages me, I will say yes. But I think that, yes, I definitely think that it's something I'll stay in because, again, these are children that don't have a voice and don't have a say. And if they have an adult or a person in their life that they know have their back, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like that's my responsibility in the world. So, I think that's great. That's fantastic. Yeah. I saw one of my CASA children who's now moved on and out of the program and everything at Walmart. And she said, "Hey, KK." That's what they call me. I always say, "Call me KK." He's like, "You got $20 or something?" I'm like, "Who do you think I am?" But I love them, and I hope that they love me, and it's been a great experience. That's great. That's fantastic, and it's going to be an awkward segue here because that is an amazing story, and I'm so glad that you're so involved in that, and that's one of the great things about some of the real estate agents that we work with here in Shelby County and Sydney is they're so focused on community. It's not just transactional, right? Not transactional. It is much more than that. So going back to real estate, so if someone was going to hop into your line of work, what kind of advice would you give them? What kind of warnings might you give them?
Okay, that people are mean. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, so
thick skin is a piece of it.
Yes, and it took me a minute to realize that. Okay, so I laugh and say my dad paid for my course,
Right.
but I cannot stress enough that nobody is going to do it for you. You can have a mentor, you can have somebody that you call every day, but nobody is going to do your job for you, and your business is totally self-reliant. And I think a lot of agents go into this and they see HGTV or they see
I think that was the worst thing that's ever happened, to be honest with you. DIY Network and HGTV might be the worst things out there right now.
Absolutely. Or they'll see
it
like
looks so easy.
Yeah. Oh, or the like Facebook is so big, and like I know Home Experts in particular, we're big on Facebook. Like, oh, we sold one, we sold one, but people don't see the struggle it is to get there.
Sure.
Or every single day. It's like, oh my gosh, I never want to talk to these clients again, which you do.
Yeah, because every transaction is different, isn't it? Some are smooth and easy. Some buyers are just great, simple, great credit, great everything. Then you run into a property issue, right? Now you're battling with the other side, trying to fix it. And there's just so much that goes on that people don't see until they're really in that buying or that transaction with their agent and with their lender to really get an idea of, wow, this is a little stressful because there's just so many moving pieces. It's just, it's crazy.
Right.
So on the last thing, I did not email this to you.
Oh, no.
So this is definitely not scripted. Not to say that any of this is scripted, but I give her some topics, at least, that we're going to talk about. Is everybody has some sort of odd or crazy real estate story.
Oh, no.
Do you have one on the top of your head? If you don't, it's okay, because I didn't prepare you for this. Does anything come to mind that you're like, man, I remember that one guy that,
oh, gosh.
You know,
no.
I had to tase him.
Oh no, that did. Yeah, one time I did have somebody come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm a cash buyer," and for whatever reason, I'll bring my husband into stuff, and for whatever reason, I did not bring him, and I was so terrified of him. I stood by the door with my key, had 911 dialed. And then it turned out it was like my friend's dad. And they never relayed that to me. So I stood there like I was going to call 911. I was so scared because he was like pressing the walls and like doing crazy stuff. But as far as really
checking for wall cavities, to put the drugs in there. You don't know this person. You have no idea what's going on.
I'm thinking like, oh my gosh. I feel like I have all the crazy stories. Here's a crazy one between me and you, though. That little greenhouse on Campbell Road. I listed it a couple years ago, and I went on a little trip with my family, and I got like 8 offers on it, and Adam and I were emailing back and forth,
and we happened to be
at the same place.
It
was so weird. It was so weird because I'm like, he texted me, it's like, I'm not at my office, won't be till Saturday. I'm with my family right now. I'm like, absolutely, I'm with my family right now too at XYZ, and he's like, question mark.
Are we the same one?
Yep. And we sure were. We met up. Yep. It was pretty cool.
That was weird.
That was very weird.
It was a meant to be situation for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again, Kamille, for taking the time to come on with us, and we'll have this out here for you soon, and we'll get this cut up and edited. I honestly think that this is going to be an unedited version, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Until I said that, then we got to edit that, right?
Yeah.
So very good. Thank you again for coming on. Guys, that's going to be it for us this week. So make sure when you see the videos, click it, like it, subscribe to it on YouTube, share it with your friends, and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you next week.